UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Infinite diversity.
Live long and prosper, and welcome to Infinite Diversity, a Star Trek Universe podcast here on the United Federation of Podcast Network. I'm your host for today, Chrissy, and joining me are my co-hosts Justin and Brandon. Justin, how are you doing today?
I'm a little confused because I'm not sure if I'm in the right timeline. Can you scan my quantum signature and compare it to the quantum signature of this universe to tell me if I'm in the right place or not?
The quantum signatures around here have been very odd. So I can do it, but it's not going to necessarily tell us anything. But I completely understand.
This is making for a really difficult day, I must say. So
yes,
but
incredibly so.
Other than that, I'm not sure who I am, but you're getting some version of Justin, and he's doing all right considering. Thank you.
Okay.
And I'm excited to talk about the thing we're teasing.
Yes, definitely. Brandon, how are you today?
I'm doing really good. Better watch out or I'm going to shake my snake thing in your face there.
Wait a minute. That sounded like... You're going to shake your snake? No, please don't.
I'm going to shake my snake
Wormler
thing
tried that
face.
and a lot of stuff happened.
Yep.
Try again.
An Ophidian.
My Ophidian. My snake thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, that doesn't sound better.
No, that doesn't sound better.
Why is there a black bar in front of my snake thing?
Wait, I'm putting that on the end, so you need something.
No, that's my intro. That's my intro. That's my Ophidian.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Lord.
It's his Ophidian. Okay,
Does that
that was
second word mean something else, or you're just rhyming stuff?
No, I added that to opinion, so it's his Ophidian opinion.
Oh.
But then I added opinion, which I didn't mean to do, but it was funny, so I didn't correct myself.
Is that your joke from Data?
Wow.
I said
that is
Kittle
a Data
didn't-
joke. You're
did
right.
I?
Yeah.
I said
Yes!
Kittle did I?
You know, listeners, this is completely representative of this hilarious novel we'll be talking about today.
No kidding.
No, it's not really. It's not hilarious
Oh.
at all. But
All
it will be
right.
fun to talk about it
Mhm.
and listen to it. Us talk about it, yeah.
Well, before we start talking about this incredibly not funny book, we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons who make our show possible, particularly our associate producers, David Willett and Justin Oser. Listeners, we'd love to add your name to this list, and we can do that with your monthly subscription of just $10 at patreon.com/UFPEarth. All right. Coda Book 1. As was being tweeted around, hashtag the end has begun.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The end is nigh.
Mhm. The end is, I like that. So, all right. So the short version here, coming into it, this is Dayton Ward's contribution to the closing up the coda of the last 20 years of Star Trek novels in the 24th century. And so, the first thing we wanted to look at, which we don't really need to give a spoiler warning for, is this something that somebody can pick up without having read all of those 20 years worth of books? So what do you guys think?
I'll start, yeah, because I don't think so. I don't think that this is a book that any fan can just pick up because I think it relies too much on the past. Yes, they do give a good history as to what happened at the beginning, but I think that there's a lot of context there. Like that to me is a reminder of like, oh yeah, this happened. Oh yeah, this happened. I completely forget all the time that the Voyager stuff is not happening concurrently with all of these novels.
Yes.
And like when that Voyager last book actually happened and whatnot, you know? And I'm like, okay, so that's kind of interesting here. So that's kind of interesting. So, yeah, I think you kind of, maybe you don't have to have read all of them, but you definitely should have read most of them, I think, by this point. So, I don't know. Justin, you disagree?
Yes, I'm happy after the last episode when we were agreeing on so much stuff to disagree with you.
Yeah.
So, and
It's okay to be
and the
wrong,
reason,
you know, so.
I'm not saying you're wrong. You just have a different opinion.
No, I'm saying you're wrong.
But you're wrong. Just tell me I'm wrong. Yeah. Okay. So, but I disagree, partly because it's a daunting thing to tell someone to read these dozens of novels before they can enjoy the latest thing that people are talking about. And I do think, you mentioned the chronology. I think there's a really good chronology going through important events that have happened in the Litverse for these post-series books. And whenever there is something that comes up that's from a previous book, Dayton Ward, I think, is very good at putting an explanation to get you into the story. Mm-hmm. So I think it's good for that. I think it is definitely a richer experience if you've read all or most of them like we have, because you know where it's been and everything that you put into reading them. But I have been recommending, when people have asked on Twitter, like, yeah, if you haven't read them, just jump in. I think the Dayton's tried to make it accessible for you, and just see what you get. And it could get them really interested, like, wow, what did I miss here or here, and get them to read other things. So for me, I'm thinking it is possible, and it can get people to read other things. I also think of when I first started reading the novels. Actually, the first one I started with was the first kind of relaunched Litverse novel, that Avatar book. And I jumped into that because I wanted something DS9 post-series. And I love that, and I kept going along, and I was so enthusiastic about DS9 that I just kind of skipped over some other things, and I was like, whoa, there's a spoiler here. And I jumped into Destiny and got like a giant spoiler, but that didn't reduce my enjoyment hugely of that. It was still amazing, and then I went back and read the other thing it was referencing. So yeah, I mean, I can understand either way, but I would definitely encourage people not to be daunted or feel like they have to read a ton of books they might not have time for, just so they can jump into something that I think is a rich experience on its own. Mm-hmm. So,
like, I had a similar experience. Like, I started reading the most of the Voyager novels before I got into like Destiny and stuff like this, and so I picked up Full Circle, and that book starts with Chakotay attending Janeway's funeral.
Spoilers,
right? And I'm like, this is a long time ago. That book is like 15 years old now, right? Like, so
I know, but some people haven't read it. That's fine.
Anyways, so like and I'm like, oh, it's going to be one of those things where she dies and they bring her back from the dead at the end. And then I get to the middle of the book, and there's like an 18-month jump or something in time.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, she's dead. And I'm like, what the f*** am I? What just happened here? What the f*** is going on? Right? Because I had no idea what was going on in the other timeline, right? So, I mean, then I eventually got caught up, right, in the other books. But honestly, like, I think that if you were to just pick up this book, this is like starting Deep Space Nine on What You Leave Behind.
Okay. Interesting perspective. Okay, but yeah,
you can still enjoy it. There's still some good stuff there, but you're like, I don't understand what half of the stuff is going on here. So, and I mean, even Dayton says in the end, like this, I love how they handle this, because he makes the comparison to what happened in the Star Wars universe with the books, and it's like, yeah, this is all just legends, and we've known that going along. We've all known that this is not canon, but this was the only place where we could get new adventures of the crews that we loved for a long period of time. And they've always talked about, like, look, this could be wiped out at any time if a new show comes along. And that's what happened. Yep. And so they wrote this to tie that up. I mean, I wish I was on social media so I could bring up my tweet. But Dayton...
Temptation.
David Mack tweeted a link to, like, a small article that he wrote. And in that is, like, we could just choose to ignore it, or we could choose to tie it up somehow. And I can't remember the words that he wrote. But when I read that sentence that he put, it just gave me chills down my spine. And I'm like, yes, you know, and they treated this for the fans who have invested this much time in it. And that's, So, I mean, yeah, you could pick up this book. You could pick up Destiny Book 3 and just start there if you wanted to, I'm sure. I'm sure you could just pick up Coda Book 3 if you wanted to. But it's not at all going to be the same. So,
okay. I mean, yeah. Chrissy, what do you think about this?
I have to agree with Brandon because
outvoted.
Sorry. Okay, I will caveat.
But you know what, listeners, pick it up anyway. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No,
go ahead.
I will caveat as if you have not read any of that and you pick this up, what is in the beginning with the previously on will get you to the point where you at least know what's happened and why particular characters are showing up and where they are. There are events in the book that are very emotional that you will not care about because you don't know who they are. So, or you won't have I shouldn't say don't care about, because that's kind of mean, but you won't have the emotional reaction that you would have had you read all the rest of the books.
Oh, okay. So let me read you this one here, Justin. So in the What Happened on Before, 2382, Admiral Janeway, along with the crew of the USS Voyager, agrees to help an alien race, the Edrimaya, on their long journey out of our galaxy. They depart the Delta Quadrant for parts unknown. Star Trek Voyager novel to lose Earth. Okay, why the hell are Tom and B'Elanna in this book? They just told me they left.
You'd have to read to lose the
That's
Earth.
right. You need to know what's going on, right?
Yeah, but okay. So I don't want to have us talk about this too much because I added it to the outline here. But I am most interested in getting people to read more Star Trek novels, and it feels like an immense barrier to say, go back and read those 40 books before you get to this one, because most people aren't going to read 40 Star Trek novels, to be honest.
There's a ton. There's a lot.
Maybe it's even more. But
it's more.
But yeah, so I mean, and we're going to give a spoiler warning, and the people are going to listen that have read this, which is great. But I just don't want there to be a whole bunch of other people that are like, I'll never listen to that episode because I'm never going to read all those. So
I want you guys, if you are not going to listen to this episode because you haven't read this book, I want you to listen to this episode. And you know what? It's okay to have this spoiled, because you know what? I knew that Picard was Locutus before I saw Best of Both Worlds, because they talked about it, because when I came into TNG halfway through season 6, things were discussed. Okay? And I want you to hear the love that we have for the Litverse, and how happy we are that these authors cared enough to make the effort to tie this up for the fans that love what they have created. These novels kept me a Star Trek fan, because from 2005 till 2017, there wasn't any good Star Trek.
Any Star Trek on TV, you mean?
No, there wasn't any good Star Trek. Okay?
Brandon.
Dear.
So my
2009 is why I'm here, but okay.
There's Star Trek fandom. My fandom was kept alive with the novels and the continuing adventures of the characters that I loved. And the Voyager novels made me appreciate Voyager even more. And honestly, guys, I like the Voyager novels more than I like the show, right? But there was some wonderful, wonderful stuff. And I want you to hear the love that we have, in the hopes that you would make the attempt to go to some of the major novels. And if you want to know where you should start, reach out to Justin, reach out to Chrissy, reach out to me, reach out to some other fans of the books and say, look, this is overwhelming. Where can I start?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and we can, I appreciate that. And we can definitely do that. And I do hope people, even if they haven't read it, listen, because you're right. I mean, they put a lot of care into this. This isn't something that they had to do. It could have just been like, oh, well, that's done, and walk away from it. But the authors care a lot about this and what they're doing and what it's meant to people. Like, for me, this has heightened my fandom since I picked up that first book in 2014. I loved it so much. I've been averaging a Star Trek novel every single week for the last 7 years. That's how much I love what they do. And a significant portion of that is these 24th Century Post-series novels. And that helped to take my fandom to greater heights, because before I started those novels, I was somebody who'd seen TNG a couple of times and DS9 and was like, okay, what's next? But these novels helped to increase my fandom more and more, to the point where I wanted to be on social media, do a podcast and all of that. So they're very meaningful for me. Like, a lot of times these novels mean as much as anything that's on screen. So
Yes.
Okay. Now that we've talked about that.
All right. Well, because I didn't finish what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. What we were talking about was important. Right. Okay. So I do think that to enjoy this set fully, as it's intended to be, you have to have the background. Okay. Having said that, you can jump in and then go back later. Yeah, like you say about spoilers, people forget that spoilers weren't an issue like before the internet was big.
I knew Kirk was dying before I went to see Generations. That was like what everybody talked
literally,
about.
Literally the example I was going to give.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's right. But I mean, what is that? That shows you that's the big one, at least in the Star Trek universe, that people were aware of going into it. And it's not about what happens at the end. Mm-hmm. It's how you get there. Okay.
It's about the journey.
Yes, it's the journey. But I mean, Star Trek novels hold a place in my heart that is almost indescribable. Because like you guys talking about, Justin, you came into it with 2009. Brandon, you came into it in your teens, right?
Yeah. Let's just say Chain of Command. Let's just say it's Chain of Command.
Okay. All right. So I think I'm younger than both of you, although not by much. I have been reading Star Trek novels for longer than you two have, been active fans. And I'm not saying that as like a power player. I'm saying that's
Holy
how much it is in my.
Jeez Louise.
No. I realized how that sounded, and I didn't mean for it to sound that way.
No, but you've been reading them for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I went from beginning reader books, to like those little kind of chapter books like the Boxcar Children to Star Trek novels. So, like, I have been reading Star Trek novels for almost 30 years. And to have all of this, intermixed stuff that actually ends up being, what should we call it? The novel continuity, canonical within the novel continuity, let's say. It's just, it was wonderful because it did keep it going. And I was reading these from the time they came out, okay, because it was when I was working at the bookstore, so I knew when they were going to come out. I was right there. And then I had to work the rest of the day. But when they announced Picard, oh, and another thing about the novels, I would not be here talking with you guys, I think, if it weren't for that. Because the first time I got on a podcast mic was to talk about novels back on the Patrons Roundtable on Trek FM.
That's right.
And that was like an opening for me. And I was so, that was so wonderful.
Literary Treks is how I found out what a podcast was Literary Treks over on Trek FM.
Yeah, that was one of the first that I heard was Literary Treks as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, books are so important to the three of us.
Yeah.
They are. And, right. Okay. So when they announced Picard, okay, after I got through all of the, oh my God, yay, then I went, oh, the novel continuity shot. Okay.
And we talked about that on an Earl Grey
did.
podcast at the time. Yeah.
Oh, and we talked about it on the line too. Excuse me.
And we talked about it at the line as well. But I remember the announcement, and then later that day we were like, "But what about the books?" Remember, Brandon? Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Mm-hmm.
So then I sat down and I'm like, you know what? I need to reread these. So since what is that? 3 years ago?
2018. Yeah, 3 years ago.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, I started rereading from. I started with A Time 2.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know why I didn't start with the DS9, the couple DS9 ahead of that, but
I don't know, because Literary Treks was doing a time too. That's how I read them.
Oh no, I think I found a list somewhere, and that was the way to go. Yeah. I don't know. Actually, I think doesn't A Time 2 start? No, it's not before. Whatever.
It's it's shortly before Nemesis for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of where it is with the DS9, but that part's not important. But in terms of like how much reading this is, and keeping in mind, of course, that I don't get to like sit and read these for long periods of time or anything like that. But right now I'm on DS9's Ascendance. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I think I have, here's my list here. I think I have about 20 to go before getting to this one.
And have you kept track of how many you've read so far up to that point?
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet.
No, I mean, do you know how many that is that you read before to that point?
I can look, just a moment.
I'm just curious. But you're including A Time 2, which is like 9 books. But
while you're looking that up, Chrissie, I'm going to add on there too, because the novels have been important for me since the beginning. Like back in 92, 93, when I started watching Trek, I was buying the books immediately at that time too. Deep Space Nine was just coming out, and I was buying the DS9 books as they came out. I wasn't able to read all of them at the time because I was involved in some things at school and whatnot, but I had them, and I still have a lot of them that I haven't read. Like I'll get to them, but I mean, I was reading a lot of them, at the time. Yeah. So
well, they had like 2 every month, sometimes 3 back then.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot coming out. They were shorter, but there was a lot. So
yeah,
those were the days. I remember as a child walking into Walden Books, and there was a whole bay of just Star Trek stuff, and I would stand there in awe and wish I had more money. But okay, so I'm looking at my spreadsheet now, and I didn't start the spreadsheet with A Time 2. I started the spreadsheet with Titans Taking Wing, which is the first Titan novel.
Okay.
And I don't know why I didn't start the spreadsheet earlier. But
there's just a few before that.
Yeah, but that is 84 books.
Oh my God.
Through
With 20 to go?
Coda, through Oblivion's Gate.
And
that are all post-finale?
Those are all post-series?
Yeah,
Oh,
starting
wow.
from
God.
Titan.
So it's like over 100. See,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess what I would say is it's daunting to say read 100 novels before you read this, but like you said, Brandon, we can provide a selection of the highlights and things that you need. And there are sites out there that tell you, hey, if you want to go through these tracks, you can do this or that. But that's a lot of stuff to expect someone to have read.
Because I remember when I did this, I was using one of those flow charts that you can find.
Oh God, those look really complicated, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, and then I just said, you know what? To hell with this. I'm going to just put them in published order. So that's what I did. So that is everything that was published. That's 24th Century from March of 2005 through November of this year when Oblivion's Gate
and that's not
out.
even all of them because there were DS9 ones from 2001 to 2004.
Right.
So
Avatar. Either Avatar or Stitch in Time, whatever you want to call it. So for being the first one. So
going forward, and there was a good number of those in 2001, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Because then they had the
it's a
Section
lot.
31.
And there was the Section 31.
Right.
Section 31 I have
crossovers.
included in these.
There was the
that's
Gateways
relevant.
crossover as well, right?
The Gateways,
so,
yes.
Anyway, it's
I
a
don't
lot
have
of
Gateways in here, but
stuff.
yeah. Yeah, so my point with all this being, 20 minutes later, but my point with all this being is that, and I don't take this as, I guess I'll use the term gatekeeping. Don't take this as gatekeeping. But this trilogy is for the people who have read those books.
These are our books.
And it's, right, there are, you can only have them.
I don't know about that.
Which is not to say, no, okay. If those books had sold poorly and nobody cared, these wouldn't exist. Okay.
Of course.
They would have stopped a long time ago. So, this is...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the reason these are in existence is because readers like us have read these books and there was an anticipation people would buy it. But I think it is truly potentially for all Star Trek fans. Oh,
right. So as I was saying, this is it was geared toward people who have the background. That doesn't mean that you can't pick it up and work your way through and sit, you could sit with it and have your phone open to memory beta. Okay. And just look things up as you don't know. If you don't mind, I mean, you could get the spoiler anyway, so what the hell? So I'm not saying don't read it I would never say that. Okay. But I also don't think that first-time readers are who the authors had in mind. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll stop now.
Now that we've gone over that question.
Yeah, okay.
That's okay.
All right, so...
question 1, check mark. And on to question 2.
Yes.
Yeah. There's
Brandon,
10
you want to
questions
give
on
us
this.
a red alarm here?
Red alarm.
For spoilers.
Red alarm. Red alarm.
Red alarm
Spoilers
for
ahead.
spoilers. Red alarm.
Ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, at what bit of this do we want to start? Oh, I will start here. The dedication made me want to cry, and that was how this started.
Yeah.
It's just, because it's for Dave Gallanter, and it just broke my heart.
Yes.
So let's see. Brandon, you talked first last time. So, Justin, initial thoughts and first impressions.
Well, I mean, as we've said, I think we all had some anticipation about this because we've been reading these books for so long. It's been built up as, the beginning of the end for this. So this, for me, we'll get into all the different parts of it, but this is a very interesting book for me because I was reading it going in knowing having this kind of combination of excitement and sadness, like excitement, like, oh, what are they going to do? How are they going to do it? But also sadness knowing that, this is all going to go away in a way. And that kind of, I had this roller coaster throughout the book. I was like, wow, that's really cool. And oh my God, that's so sad. Like going back and forth. So it was a real roller coaster of emotions. And I think I told you guys, after I finished it, I just had to sit with it for a day. And I did before I posted my review online. But I actually really loved what was going on. I thought it was something that brought together a lot of really great threads from that last 20 years of Trek novels, while bringing in some unexpected elements and it also, I mean, there was quite a bit of action and things that were going on, but there were also parts of reflection and memorial services and different things that I could really appreciate to give you a break at certain parts. So I really ended up loving it quite a bit.
Brandon?
I really enjoyed it. I think it's really fantastic. It's tough to give like a general impression on it beyond that, because this is only the first third, you know? Like there's so much more to come.
I always give my impression after when it's not finished, but okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's really good. There's some really wonderful surprises that have been in here. And I mean, like, without talking about it too yet, because we're going to get there, but I mean, like, the people that are the alien race that they chose to instigate this, I'm like, whoa, okay, I did not see that.
I didn't expect that, but I was very pleasantly surprised because I love the episode it comes from. But, but yeah, it was unexpected. Yeah. I was like, who could it be? Oh. Well, I mean, we could say it, the Davidians, because we've already given the spoiler warning, right? Which are from Time Zero, Part 1 and 2. Yeah. So that was cool. That was unexpected.
And I did talk about my snake at the start of the episode too. So.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Let's not talk about that anymore. But no, I totally expected that it would still be a mystery. I'm like, okay, they're really getting into it. Okay, great. You know, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll talk about what the book was. This is not what I was expecting. Like, what I was expecting was going to be some universe-crashing event where, like, basically, you know, when Worf had his first dream, I was expecting parallels on, like, a massive trilogy level, and the end thing would be, okay, they would, at the end of the third novel, or at some point within the next two novels, they'd be like, okay, the timeline diverged here, and we have to go back and fix the timeline because this, and this shouldn't have happened, and this, and this. That's where I expected it to go. And then,
I expected that as well, but I actually have a theory off of that we'll get into about what I think is actually going on.
Okay.
All right.
Because I don't know if we are getting a true picture of what's going on.
Okay.
I'll say that for now.
That's a tease.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chrissy, what did you think overall?
Oh, I loved it. I did something I never do, which is I had a day that I didn't have to work. And so I just was like, I'm reading this book.
Oh, you read it all in one day? Cool.
Almost. I didn't quite finish it because life, but here's the funny part. I went to bed when I usually do on Monday night, and then I woke up at like 4, probably because I woke up to have to pee, and I get back in bed and I'm like, I got the books downloaded. So then I read for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And until I was falling asleep with as listeners know, I use a tablet, and I was falling asleep and I smacked myself in the face with the tablet.
Oh,
and I
no.
was like, okay, I guess I should go back to sleep.
Don't you hate that?
Now I can read another 100 pages because I just woke myself up.
Yeah.
Oh God, I've fallen asleep over a book so many times because I do like to read like as I go to sleep, and I try to when I get tired enough to do that. But sometimes I'll wake up and I'm just like flat on the book, and I'm like, oh, what happens?
One of the reasons that I have been able to continue, I was able to continue reading Star Trek books even through grad school, was that I insisted to myself, because history grad school is just reading. You're reading and you're writing, and that's it. And I was like, I can't read anything that I have to remember right before I go to sleep. So that was where my Star Trek books fit in for that time, and it was good. But, right. So then I went back to sleep for a couple hours, and then I got up and I shoveled some cereal in my face, and I was walking around book in front of me. And I think I had it 2/3 done that day, and it was just like, oh my God, so good. But I think I had mentioned with you guys, I don't know if it was on the podcast or when we were talking about other stuff, but I kind of said that I bet this is going to have a feeling of Q squared. Okay. Where you have the different timelines that are eventually going to run into each other. And there were a few points that did feel like that. The jumps into the other timelines, particularly the one with where with Riker as captain, where
with
Locutus
Captain
never...
Riker, which I'll just mention it since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
I love that because that particular timeline is from Dayton Ward's TNG novel Headlong Flight, which is one that I really loved. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But
So
it did go into a couple
continuity.
different timelines. But yeah.
It is just starting this book, it is absolutely mind-boggling that the little threads that they've left,
Yes.
Dayton wrote that book and he said in an interview, he's just like, look, we've been doing so much in this post-finale timeline. I just missed writing about them during the regular time. So we wrote this book where part of the timeline took place during that era and some things were different. And that they're able to bring that into this completely. There was no intention, I think, of them ever revisiting that.
No.
And then we've had that dangling thread of what Torek knew about the future.
That too.
Yes.
It's mind-boggling how this worked out, and it is wonderful, right? It's just wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Headlong Flight dropped 31st of January of 2017. Yep.
Yeah. And then Armageddon's Arrow was it before then? Was it 2016?
Armageddon's Arrow was May of 2015.
2015, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I read that book and Torek had some glimpse into the future, and I was like, does it have to do with the Romulan supernova because they were getting close to that time period, or is it something else? And then for it to be picked up that it has something to do with this is incredible, because I've wanted to know more about that, and now we're getting toward... Well, I mean, we did have somewhat of a reveal of it, but it's really coming in where that came into play, which is incredible, because that was one of the big things that I think I've read in the TNG novels, where I was like, what does this mean? They're going to do something with this, right? And they have,
yeah,
that's great.
I have read book series, and I'm sure you guys have too, that are planned out from the beginning, that don't drop clues as well as these guys did when they didn't plan on doing anything else with them. Or rather, I should say, they picked him up at the end.
Yeah, and I've heard them talk on interviews sometimes, and they'll be like, you know what? In this book, I felt like dropping this in case I want to pick it up later. They'll just do that kind of thing. And he's like, okay, here we go. Here's the time.
Yep.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Which makes me think also, because both of those things are from Dayton Ward's books, right? And we have James Swallow and David Mack's books, and they've been writing it quite a bit in, this Litverse continuity. What things are they going to pick up from their books, right? That's what I get excited about. Yeah.
That's going to be good.
So,
I'm expecting some control in that last book somehow.
Oh, that would be
I don't see how there couldn't be. I mean,
that would
that's...
be possible. And I expect to tie into Dark Veil, the Titan novel, somehow. I don't know how, but because that's...
Yeah. No, you could probably... We are going to see the prime timeline characters at some point. We have to. Even if it's just at the end, when they look around and go, what was that blip?
Maybe,
like
but I'm
that
actually
Voyager
not
episode,
so sure.
the what was that blip? Oh, that's so weird. We just spent an hour with this crew and they just disintegrated. Oh, well.
Oh, yeah. No, that was Course Oblivion.
Yes.
Which is... Oh, that episode always breaks me up, because you find out that, okay, they're really, this what is it, Silver Blood?
That is the craziest sequel episode in the history of the franchise.
Insane.
It's wonderful, though.
And of course, you don't know it's a sequel until halfway through or something.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like they never intended that, but that they did is pretty brilliant that they did that.
That is, I love Course Oblivion. That's such an amazing.
It's
episode.
great. It's a great episode. But anyway, sorry. But maybe we'll see the prime. I'm not so sure. I don't know, actually.
Okay. Well, I think we're over the course of talking about these, and we already have presented some theories that I know in my case has completely fallen apart. So, but we'll get to that later. So, one of the most important threads in this is Traveler Wesley.
Yes.
Okay. How did you guys feel about bringing him back in? Did you expect him?
I didn't expect him at all. I'm okay that he's here because I love Journey's End. I think Journey's End is a fantastic episode, and I love that they called back and brought a finale for that character. And I love how they did it. I think Journey's End is an underrated episode. And they've had Wesley pop up several times throughout the run of these books. So he's not out of place being here. I just wasn't expecting him. But I'm okay that he's here because, yes, he pulls himself out of time, and they're dealing with this time is ripping apart right now. So it's perfectly fine that he's here. So, I mean, like, Wesley died, right? And I mean, like, I messaged you guys in our thread, and I'm like, am I supposed to be upset that Wesley's dead? Because, I mean, like, it's weird because, and it wasn't like, it's not because I don't like the Wesley character that I said that. It's just like, I mean, we're going into this and we know that this is going to be completely wrapping up 20 years of books. So it's like they're going to be doing a ton of crazy shit all over the place in these 3 books. People are going to be dying left and right. You know, weird things are going to happen. And so they killed Wesley. Now, I think that, like, they say that Wesley was like 400 years old when he died. And I'm like, okay, well, he was probably hit by this weapon that they keep talking about, right? Like, I don't think he lived 400 years. But I'm like, okay, well, there's going to be more to this. They're not just going to kill him. So I'm like, well, am I supposed to be upset about this? And you guys kind of mocked me.
It's, well,
killed a Wesley.
I know. Yeah.
One of.
Well, because, a younger alternate version comes back or whatever. But this is an interesting difference that we had, Brandon, because I know you kept messaging us like, this person died. Should I be upset? And it's like, yes, I know that at the end of this, probably everyone in this, reality
will cease to exist.
Will cease to exist. Although I do have a theory and wonder if there'll be a few that they make exceptions for and push them over to another timeline. But anyway, pretty much everybody, I think this timeline is going to cease to exist or something like that, right? However, for me, that doesn't diminish the time that I've spent with these characters. And some of these characters that die in this novel have never appeared on screen, were just created for the novels. But
most of them.
I've loved a lot of them. Yeah, I've loved spending time with these characters, and it does still feel like a crushing blow for some of them just to see it happen to them individually. So it did have a lot of meaning for me, and I did get upset about some in particular that we'll talk about. But I'm curious, Chrissy, like, where do you fall on this? Were you just like, everybody's going to die anyway, or did some of them affect you?
Going back to Wesley, going into it, I was like, okay, we know this is going to be some kind of time thing. So I figured on seeing Wesley and the Traveler at some point. I did not expect it to start with him, and I did not expect it to start with him witnessing the destruction of the Guardian of Forever.
Yes.
Major spoiler. And I was still, I think until about...
Carl!
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, guys, the destruction of a Guardian of Forever.
Right.
Just
and
in this timeline.
So I'm looking at this here, and I stuck a note in the book where, there we go. As it had for its entire existence, the Guardian of Forever waited a question. And I did a little sticky note there, electronic sticky note that said, by the time we get to the end of this series, the Guardian will be on that planet that we saw it on in Discovery.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to see.
I don't think so, because this is a different timeline.
Right,
in
but
that
at the time,
it's...
when I was reading it, I was like, okay, so we're going to try to reconcile. Because, like, I have a note when Geordi starts talking about going over to Utopia Planitia. I'm like, okay, that lines him up where he was in Picard. And then Worf is becoming a captain, and that lines him up where he is in Picard. So I went into it thinking that they're going to reconcile the timelines as much as possible. I now think they're going to destroy all the other ones.
Yeah. I actually, maybe you're right, because when Wesley sees the Guardian, isn't that at a time that's before the post-series novel starts? So you could think that that's in the prime timeline before it kind of splits off, right? So maybe you're right about that. Although there is another theory that when changes are made and branches are created, it changes things backwards and forwards in time. But anyway,
that's true, and the Guardian would know.
Complicated, yeah.
But so I'm glad that we have Wesley. Wesley kind of feels like he's bringing us. He's the guide through this.
Yes.
Even though he doesn't necessarily know that. And I think that's a very, very well put together. So
I love that Wesley's in this. I mean, he is kind of a bit convenient because he's like, hey guys, I got this really great technology that can help you out in XYZ way. But at the same time, I think it makes sense because he is outside of time. He has had a lot of time to work on this stuff. And so I accepted that, even though it was a bit convenient. But I love that Wesley's in this. I love him as a character in TNG, his Traveler arc. It's been great to see him in the different places we've seen him in some of these novels. I actually didn't know what to expect. I wasn't expecting Wesley at all for some reason. But then when he comes on, it's like, oh, yeah, of course. He's a perfect person for this. So I love that he was included, and I'm glad that a younger version somehow pops out so we can continue to follow him into the next book.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that the first thing I did when I picked up the book, which is what I always do, I read the back and then I read the page at the front, right? And I read that excerpt. And
I never do that. Why do you do that?
Because I like reading that. That's what I do. I have a method.
I like to have read like almost nothing about it.
I read the back of the book and I read the front page, right? Anyways, when it went, the Guardian replied, by all that was, by all that will be. I was at work when I picked up the page and read that, and I went like, oh, yes. Like when I knew when the Guardian was in this, I'm like, oh, yes. And then they frickin' destroyed him. And I'm like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
For now, I guess.
For now.
Yeah. Well, that's how he gets that human shape. We're going to find out. Right.
The Guardian pieces coalesce into a human shape.
Into Carl. I had forgotten that they put those in the front. It's been so long since I read a hard copy of these that I forgot that they did that. The ebooks don't have the little blurb at the beginning.
It doesn't.
But, yeah. So we've got Wesley. We've got a couple different versions of Wesley. What did you guys think about how they put him together with his brother, with little Renee, and how that worked out?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting because Renee, of course, is someone who is Jean-Luc and Beverly's child, was born 6 years before this. So in the novels, I did think that was interesting because I think Wesley wouldn't have seen much of Renee, but they have like this connection. But yeah, and we'll get into it more. But just seeing like Renee having his age accelerated and he's now like 20 years old, but mentally like a 6-year-old, I was like, wow, that's rough. But yeah, I thought their connection was interesting. What did you think, Brandon?
I'll be upset if he turns out that Renee's a traveler too now. Like, so I like if they turn him to one. So
I don't think so.
There was like a part of this book where they're all like, Renee is so smart. Renee can read like all these crazy things, and he's so smart, and he's really advanced, and he's better than all the other kids. And I'm like, come on. So like,
yeah, but his father's the captain, so
it's a very deliberate choice not to kill him, but to age him in some way. Yes. And I'm not sure where they're going.
He's going to turn into a traveler with Wesley, and they're going to go do traveler things together. So
no, because the not yet established canon, of course, is that Jack Crusher was a traveler. So
what?
Was it Rhea that came up with this on Galaxy Class? Well, I heard it and I was like, oh my god, that's perfect, and that's now my headcanon.
Okay,
Jack Crusher's a traveler, but that's a whole other thing.
Sure. So Wesley's half traveler. Okay.
Right. So that would explain the way that Cisco is half.
Cisco's half prophet. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think they're just saying like, oh, Renee's so smart. Renee's so smart. We have to remember that his parents are in their 70s and 80s. And so maybe it's just establishing, you know what? You still can have children that late and have them not be not healthy and have them be healthy.
Okay.
Can I say something that would respond to what you just said there, Chrissy, about the Traveler thing?
Please.
See, like, we've only ever seen the Traveler from Where No One Has Gone Before and Remember Me and Journey's End. Like, right. I don't know. I guess in my head, I've always kind of thought that not all beings from Tau Alpha C or whatever it is are travelers. Like, traveler are like people that attain a certain level. So, like, Wesley's a human who became a traveler because his brain powers advanced. This guy is. There is a Klingon that this has happened to. There is a Cardassian that this has happened to, kind of thing. Like, they're not. The travelers are not a species. The travelers are people that have attained a certain level. Okay.
It's an exclusive club of beings.
They have a very high midichlorian count.
Yeah, and they have the captain's table bar in that like pocket universe where they go to drink. There's like a traveler table.
Yes. Well, and you could even, because there's other characters you could put into that. BBC America just had Transfigurations, the one with John Doe. Yeah, it was just on today, and you're saying that, and I was like, he could be a traveler too. Yeah, no, I know we have no establishment that Jack Crusher was anything other than human, but I just blame her. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so I know that they haven't established anything like that with Jack, but it's just I just thought it was fun. So let's talk about where they are taking the various characters, okay? And the first one we hear about potentially leaving the Enterprise is Geordi. And it is because he has been offered a position with research and development at Utopia Planitia, or he'll eventually end up at Utopia Planitia, which, as I said, that was like, okay, so that puts him in line, with what's going on in Picard. And I know that's not necessarily what they're doing, but that's what was my thought at the time. So what do we think about this? We had a breakup of the crew with Riker getting the Titan, and he and Troy leave, and Worf was gone for a while, and then he comes back. So we're having a breaking up of the crew again. How are you guys feeling about that? Brandon?
So this is kind of how I don't know how to feel about this because of the deaths. Like, these characters should have been gone a long time ago. However, they don't, because these are the main characters of the show that we're watching / reading. And so, like, at the end of this, it's like, okay, so now they can transfer everybody because we're at the very end of this. It's like Homestead in Voyager. If Homestead happened in season 2, Neelix wouldn't have left. He would have been like, see you later, lady, right? At the end of Homestead. But because it's the second or third last episode of Star Trek Voyager, they can say goodbye to Neelix and have an emotional episode. So, like, I love Homestead, and I bawl my eyes out every time Tuvok moves his leg, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like, I don't know. It's, of course, they're letting him go now because they wouldn't have done it at any other time in the run of the show if this episode had come up. So I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where it's hard to, like, process.
Okay.
I mean, I liked it, but it is kind of one of those tropes that even happens in sitcoms. Like, it's the last episode, everybody's going here, there, and everywhere. But, like, in this context, I mean, it is way overdue. I mean, like, Geordi's been, like, on some version of the Enterprise with Picard for 20 plus years at this point, right? And Worf as well, for the most part. But no, I kind of like that. I mean, it's giving certain emotions, like, okay, Geordi's going to Starfleet Research. He has this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's great. Worf's getting promoted to captain of the Prometheus, which is a nice reference to the Prometheus novels as well, with them talking about some of the characters there. And then Chen is going to the Second Contact Fleet, which I thought was hilarious. It's like basically doing lower decks work. But no, it worked for me. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, that's really interesting to think about them doing this. And of course, then in my head, I'm just like, they're not going to end up there because they're going to die. But it is interesting.
Well, you didn't know that at the time.
Spend time with them. Well, we know it at the time that we're reading it now, but it's interesting to spend time with them and to see where they're going. So I liked it.
I mean, at the end of this, though, they may not wipe this timeline out. Like, we could end with a Sopranos finale, right? Where it's just like, it just goes on, right? Like, it just goes on from this. This is the end.
Yeah, and we can talk about the
definitely
theories on that.
We're creating, like, this ultimate finale for this timeline, but my assumption going in was that they would wipe this timeline and turn it into the prime timeline, fixing everything. But they may not do that. They may not do that.
Okay. Should we get into what my theory is then, since we're talking about this stuff?
Sure.
If you want, yeah.
Okay. So something that really struck me at the very beginning, the chapter 2, after you have the Wesley and the Guardian stuff, where you have Beverly Crusher, and it feels like she's getting this communication from Wesley, and she gets dizzy. And then after that, I think she sees Tamala Harstead, who's in sickbay, and was like, weren't you supposed to be somewhere else? Are you supposed to be on duty? It's like, oh no, and gives a reason for it. But the immediate thing that I thought is to parallels where Worf gets dizzy when he's changing timelines. So I actually thought right there, like, Beverly Crusher has shifted to another timeline, and this is actually a very slightly different timeline than the Litverse one we've been following. What do you guys think about that?
Maybe.
Brandon's unsure.
Maybe.
I mean, I could be way off, but like, there was just this very clear indication that she, like, gets dizzy and comes back and is like, oh, that's funny. Something slightly different than I expected. Oh, well, I'll keep going now. And Worf and Riker also having these kind of odd dreams of like previous times, alternate timelines. And I was feeling like that was almost a hint that they're not really where they're supposed to be. But yeah, we're not going to find out until future books. But I thought it would be very interesting if actually maybe what gets destroyed is this slightly different timeline and the other one can keep going. I don't know.
There's only 2 left at the end of it. I hadn't thought of that. I just assumed she got dizzy because Wesley screwed with time around her brain.
Okay.
And,
but yeah, like every time when I thought about that, like there's time travel and alternate timelines. When someone gets dizzy, I just think of parallels and what happens to Worf every time that he shifts. But
Renee also saw Wesley, right? So
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I guess.
we'll see.
Anyway,
Could
I just
shift
wanted to mention that.
Okay.
Case
Interesting
right.
theory. Could be right. Could be right. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
mean, it's
We've got 2 books to find out.
It's cool that you thought of that. Well, here, now that we've gotten into the time issue, well, the whole thing is a time issue, but let's talk about our Department of Temporal Investigations involvement here. We've got the relativity popping up.
Yes.
We have, I really appreciated it. One of the ships was the Wells, as in HG.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and then one of the ships was the Crichton. And I wasn't sure if that was...
I think it's after Michael Crichton.
Gotta be Michael. Yeah.
I figured it had to be, but, you know.
Probably.
Didn't know if I was...
Is that why you're wearing your Jurassic Park t-shirt right now?
Sure, we can say that. So it wasn't just at the top of the pile this morning. That's fine.
Good planning.
Yeah. So how do you guys feel about bringing Department of Temporal Investigations into this? Because we did have those few DTI books, which are wonderful.
Oh, I love them. Yeah.
I highly recommend those to everybody. First of all, they're short. They're novellas.
Well, 2 of them are novellas. 2 of them are full-length novels, actually.
Oh, are they? Oh, forgive. Okay. Still, they're not, and we're not talking about Lord of the Rings here.
It's not 500 pages. But
So, and those, they stand alone within themselves. So you should, if you're going to read them, you should read them in the order that they were published, but you don't have to have read all the stuff around all the other post-series stuff around them. But that's the only time that I feel like we really had Department of Temporal Investigations not in an adversarial position. Let's say that. Or at least people like making jokes about how much they hate them. And that continues through here. They're people aren't necessarily happy to see them show up, but they certainly serve a purpose. So what do we think about that?
I love this because it's only recently that I read those DTI books. And, you get Agent Garcia and Rengia, which were characters that were created for that. And I absolutely love that we have the axis of time in here, which is one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever read about, which comes from the DTI books and gets destroyed here. Oh, well.
Okay, I thought I recognized that name, but I couldn't remember. I haven't read those DTI books since they came out, right?
Okay, one of the books, it's all about the axis of time, which is this giant thing where you can just kind of spatially go between timelines and like different time periods, and it came from that. So, but no, I loved it, and also seeing the relativity, which I don't think is part of DTI. It's something different at that point, like the Temporal Integrity Commission or something.
Because it's later.
It's related, but I was really pleasantly. I mean, it shouldn't be too surprising. There's time travel stuff, but I love that we got the relativity and those agents because I had read those novels so recently. So.
I thought it was like I was very intrigued with this right at the beginning because the first thing we get is the destruction of the Guardian, and then like the second thing we get is the destruction of the relativity.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, this is interesting. And the relativity, Wesley was on board there when it got destroyed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, yeah, I'm like, okay, the gloves are off with this one. The gloves are definitely off with this book series.
Yeah.
And that also brings us to the time travel aspects where we end up in the 13th, 29th, and 64th centuries.
I think so, yeah.
And that, well, we'll start with thoughts on how that was put together and how that's presented. Because this comes into my, what I'm calling my new theory.
Okay.
So.
Well, I had a question about the future when they went, because they said something of like, this is where like Picard and Wesley had been here before or something like this, and I was a little confused on that.
I think, so yeah, there's one point of the book when Wesley takes Picard into this area that seems like it's desolate, but yeah, I didn't get the impression that at that point Wesley was taking him 4,000 years into the future.
No,
but that it was
did I.
almost like a vision or a premonition of something is what it felt like. But
Well, they said they were going that far in the future, and then when they got there with the ship, it says time unknown and whatnot, right? So, like, we don't know if it's exactly 4,000 years or whatever.
Well,
but
yeah, I took it to be, it could be slightly more, slightly less, but about 4,000 years, which is more time than I was expecting them to go into the future.
This is the farthest we've been in the Star Trek timeline now.
Depends on what you count, I guess. I mean, there is
There's a short story in the...
Yes, exactly. There's a short story in one of the Strange New Worlds volumes that goes a million years into the future, but if this were on screen, it would be the furthest that we've been, for sure. No, I really like that. And also that they were doing this observation like in the 13th century at this anomaly. I also like that this anomaly, it was kind of a bit of a reversal of what you see in All Good Things, because there you see, like, it starts in the future, it's bigger in the past.
Right.
And I think for this, it starts in the future and it's bigger in the future and kind of goes backwards and gets smaller and smaller, I think. I think that's what was going on.
I thought it was a reverse of that.
I think it's smaller in the past, because I think in the future it takes up like the entire Typhon expanse or something like that.
Right, it's smaller in the past.
Yeah,
yes.
Which is the opposite.
So it's exactly the same as...
No, in All Good Things, it was bigger in the past. It was like consuming Earth at the time life starts. Yeah, I know it's confusing. I had to get it straight as well. But I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like... I think it's interesting that they're watching different things. I thought it was cool that they talked about the Typhon expanse, right? Which is, like an area of space that we've been in the novels, which is not in the post-finale novels, but during the TOS era, we had the Starbase 47 books, right? The Typhon Pact. Or what did they call it back then?
No. Typhon Expanse, it has to do with the Typhon Pact, which is the 24th century novels. Yeah. And I think the Typhon Expanse is where they were in Cause and Effect when they got caught in a loop.
Cause and Effect. But that was also, is that not also the same area where Starbase 47 was?
Don't think so. That was the Taurus Reach.
Was it Taurus Reach? Okay.
That's Vanguard, right?
Vanguard, yes. They're Vanguard.
Yeah,
okay.
I think so, yeah.
Well, I thought it was that, so...
Oh, well.
That's okay.
Still cool.
We'll say it's on the other side.
Yeah. I do have to say one thing when you talk about like the time travel and the timelines. Mm-hmm. Like... And having read the DTI books, there's like a lot of mind-bendy like concepts, and Christopher L. Bennett makes this whole like theory of time travel in Star Trek, which is really cool. But there were definitely times here where I was like, okay, what is that explanation? What is happening? But not that it was being done poorly, but that Dayton Ward was doing it so well and so realistically that it was like I couldn't quite grasp it all, because it was just so... I don't know if you guys felt that way. It was just so intricate and complex sometimes.
There were a couple of parts that I had to read over, and as we just saw, I was confused about the anomaly. So
no, it's always such an interesting thing when we're reading something, whether you're like reading the page or listening to an audiobook or whatever, because you have to conjure the visuals in your mind, right? And to try to figure out, okay, what does this look like? What's happening? And sometimes it's a little tough to do that, to kind of conjure up the visuals. Yeah.
Go take notes.
Which I do. Yeah.
Yeah. It's what you do. Okay. So since we're at this and we brought up All Good Things, I'm just going to real quick here. My previous theory, which I mentioned on a previous episode, I don't remember which one, somewhere back there when we started talking, probably the episode where we talked about these in the news when they were first announced. But after we saw that Q was going to be in Picard Season 2, I said, okay, Q is a massive part of some of these post-series books. And Q is going to be in Picard Season 2. So this is the point with which they're going to reconcile them. Okay. And I would have put money on that.
Q could still be in this.
I read the previously on in this book. I'm going to pull it up here. And I don't think he will be, because of what's in the previously on.
Which part of that?
Okay, so Admiral Janeway is killed, 2380. 2381. With the assistance of unlikely allies, Admiral Janeway's death is reversed.
Yes.
They don't say
Q is going to be involved.
Yeah, it doesn't say by Q.
Yeah, and if you haven't read these books, you'd want to, like, that's a reminder of the people who have read the books. But, that's a fair point.
I took that as we're not going to see Q because
I don't know about that, because there's a point in the book where I think they're talking to Wesley and they're like, hey, have you tried to get help from, people that might help you? He's like, tried the LRANs, couldn't reach them. Tried the Q Continuum, couldn't reach them. Tried the Aegis, couldn't reach them. Like he lists off all of these, and now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that probably means we will see them at some point. I think it would be. I think Q could be in this.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think he's going to be now, but
if he is, I will gloat.
Yeah, there you go. You can definitely do that. I won't be unhappy if we see him, but it's not going to work out the way. Okay, so like I had this whole
doesn't have to reconcile to how things are in Picard, I think.
Right, and that's the problem I'm having, because I'm trying to make this reconcile. And when I got that piece of information about Q, I was like, okay, so we have one timeline where Q ended up having to. Spoilers for other books in the last 20 years, I'm sorry, where Q ended up, his son died, right?
That's right.
And it created this alternate timeline.
And sorry, yeah, it did create an alternate timeline, but there's a dangling thread from that, because Q's son died, and I think as part of that, Q is because I think he sees it as Picard's fault, right? It was in one of the TNG novels, and he's very angry and upset about it, and so is the female Q or something like that. But they never came back to that and what he would do about his anger with that. So I think it would be interesting to pick back up on that. But
so that's where I thought we were going to be able to reconcile with Picard.
Was that in Q&A?
I don't think it was in Q&A, but it was in... Hold on, I'll have to look up which book it is that his.
Okay, well, you're looking at
his little Q dies. I kind of love that Q's son is like a lowercase Q in the books. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I took that and I'm like, okay, so we have a timeline where we have the prime timeline where, as far as we know, Picard has no children. Okay, and as far as we know, he and Beverly are not married. Okay.
As far as we know
and
so
then
far, yeah.
And then we have this timeline in the books where they are, and they have a son. And then we have Q, who's lost his son, and he blames Picard. And so I thought this was going to end with Q killing Renee, and somehow that bringing the timelines together. I don't think that's going to happen now. I might just have to write that one myself, I guess.
Let's hold on, because I was completely wrong.
Okay.
What actually happens in the Voyager novel, The Eternal Tide, is that something happens where Q's son dies and he blames Janeway and says that he's her enemy from then on. But
okay. All right. So I was picking up with what you said on blaming Picard, but that was still what I thought. So.
Maybe they won't. However, now that we're talking about Voyager, my other theory is that I think you didn't necessarily have to include anything about Voyager, or indeed even Paris or Torres in this, who stayed behind after, Janeway and Chakotay and a lot of the rest of the crew left the galaxy 5 years ago. But I think I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, but I think it would be really cool if somehow in this time that Voyager crew is returning and is a surprise part of some of the next two novels. And then Q gets to take out his anger on Janeway or something. I don't know. But I had that thought in my mind, like they, haven't specifically said anything, but putting in there what happened with Voyager 5 years before and having Paris and Torres made me think, are we going to have more of Voyager in this than we thought?
Well, I mean, they kind of had to, because they otherwise, if they don't have Voyager in this, people will be asking, where's Voyager? So they have to have that and saying, by the way, Voyager's left the galaxy. Right.
Well, but they didn't have to include.
I would still like it that they return.
Right. Sure. Yeah, that'd be fine. I would like that as well. Right. I mean, because that's kind of a crappy place to leave them. Right. Like I want more.
Oh, they've left the galaxy, and they're going to endure the end of existence like somewhere else. Right.
Yeah. But I mean, but then also Paris and Torres went back. Right. And so that's why they're here. Right. And so people who've read the book will be like, well, are we just not going to get them at all? Right. So there'll be people asking those questions. So
that's a good point. I guess it could go either way. but I had that thought like, oh, it would be really cool if they choose this time to return.
I'm waiting for the other books to happen, but I mean, like, I was expecting more crossover at this point in the book as well. Like, I was expecting to see Sisko and the Robinson in this book as well, right?
That's so interesting. I see, we actually got more crossover than I thought we would get, because I thought this would just be completely focused on the E, so that we saw the relativity, that we saw a bit of the Titan, that we saw a lot of the Aventine was actually more crossover for me than I expected. But interesting. Okay. Well, we will get more DS9 in the next one.
I hope so, because it's on the cover.
It's going to be there. It's going to be there.
And then the Defiant is on the third cover, right? So.
It's on the third one, so we're going to get some heavy DS9. Yeah. All good things.
Yeah. So then the other thing about All Good Things, which...
Oh, I was just saying, like, all good things come to an end, but yes.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Good connection anyway. It was inadvertent segue. So now I think that the end of this is going to be similar to the way All Good Things ended, where you have all of the in this case, it wouldn't be all of the Enterprises, but all of the various ships and people from all of these timelines, and they're just going to go blink, 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 blink until we have the prime one left. And I started thinking that because of the anomaly that we were seeing in the various centuries, which is probably, because I made that connection right away when they were describing it, probably why I got confused about which direction it was going. Mm-hmm. But I still think that's a possibility that they're going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's really great about this book is that we have an idea like, okay, this is going to wipe out the timeline or whatever, but we're still uncertain about how that happens, what it means, maybe if it'll really happen that way or if it'll continue for some reason. I think that's great. I think nothing is truly a foregone conclusion here. And of course, if my theory is right, we're not even following the same timeline at this point.
Yeah. So. See, and my theory, which I've kind of talked about already, is like, we've all assumed that what this means is they're going to destroy this timeline to explain why we have the Picard timeline now. And I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to go with this timeline this is just an end for this timeline's storytelling. We will never get another book in this timeline, but this timeline will continue on. And it'll be like the end of The Sopranos, where, you know, I loved the finale of The Sopranos, right? You know, spoilers for that happened 18 years ago or whatever. I just think everybody's like, what happened to Tony? Did he get killed or whatnot? And I'm like, no, Tony is the luckiest MFer in the universe, right? Tony Soprano is the luckiest guy ever. Whatever happened after when they faded to black, Tony's fine, because Tony is so lucky. And so, like, that's all that I need to know as a fan of that show. And so that's all that's going to happen. This will end, the story will end, and this timeline will continue. We just don't get the opportunity to see any more adventures.
It could very well be. And I thought he was joking, but, like, when people have said, like, it's the end, I saw Dayton at one point be like, or is it? Like,
yes.
But I think that's what's wonderful. Like, we have all this speculation. We're not sure which way it's going to go. There's still some unexpected elements to it. Yeah.
Well, and that kind of an open-ended ending, to use the same word, is perfect for Star Trek, because it's just that, you know, if you think about, is it the end of Search for Spock, where they've got the little tag, and the adventure continues?
Yes.
Or, yeah. So, I mean, that's
and
what
you
Trek
leave
is.
behind, too. Like, there's people that have stopped. Like, we don't have Sisko anymore. We have these things. But you know what? The adventures continue. O'Brien went to Earth, right? Like, these things have happened. So there's some people there, but then it's going to continue on. Like, these people still exist. Yeah. So,
and that actually works very well for the Voyager storyline.
Yes,
they don't even have to touch it at all if it's just going to continue.
It does. Yeah, when To Lose the Earth ended and they were just like off on a new adventure, I was like, that's perfect. That's great to end it that way. I'm fine with
it. It was, but I still want more freaking books.
And now I want more,
Kirsten, get on that stuff. No, I know we'll never get any more, but that's okay.
Never say never, though, right?
We are never going to get any books in this timeline ever again after these three. Never.
Yeah. Okay. Just like we were never going to get Picard on screen ever again. So things can change, but
Michael
I think
Dorn
it's
was
less
never going to put on the makeup. But
secondary novel material is not the same as getting a new TV show on the thing, right? Like, this is
true. I'm saying it's less likely.
It's actually cheaper.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, Well, I had on the outline, everybody's theories were going to be at the end, but now we've dealt with that. But we still have a lot to go.
I think we've pretty much done
I
the
still have a
theories,
couple more theories that we haven't touched on.
All right, well, we'll leave that open.
Okay, 4 hours later. Brandon, do you have any more theories?
Yeah. This is classic Chrissy and Brandon and Justin.
There's a lot going on in this
podcasting
novel,
here.
Yeah.
All right, so the Davidians. The Davidians are the ones who are screwing with time.
This is nuts.
I love how...
It is.
It is. But I love how they describe that weapon that they have, because if you think back to when they killed the 49er on the street and how he just slowly went gray, it works. It's like they took that and then
they amped it up.
Yeah.
Because, and I thought it was a really interesting concept that basically they're tapping this neural energy like they do in Time's Arrow, but that just like, a momentary touch just takes away that energy and ages you to an extent that you just like fall to dust. Ugh, what a terrible way to go. But I thought that was an interesting like extrapolation of what that thing is, and it's extreme. And of course, as we see, Renee gets touched a tiny bit and it ages him like 20 years. Chen gets touched a little bit more and it ages her many decades, but she doesn't die right away. But
only because she's Vulcan, got the Vulcan.
That is true, I guess. Yeah.
I think if that'd been a full human there.
Chen dies? Spoilers. Oh my god, you guys.
So many deaths. But like I was saying, the Chen one hit me really hard because we probably will never see that character again because she's not anywhere but the novels.
Yes.
And she was so good.
I love that character. Okay.
Right. So, Justin, you had something you wanted to talk about with the Davidians and how they are potentially a social commentary.
I did, yeah, and this struck me like later in the novel. I mean, maybe to give a bit more background. So, I mean, we find out that basically these Davidians are, I guess, starting out doing tests just to see if they can find out. I think they're finding out where there's like time travel or anomalies, and then they're just like attacking certain ships, taking neural energy, and then kind of collapsing like the entire reality, like that whole timeline. I think that's kind of what they're going for. And so their whole big plan is to have, all these hubs and things to basically just try to gorge on the neural energy of like many, many, many timelines. So I thought of it as social commentary because it kind of starts out, even in Time's Arrow, like, okay, we need to support our people and we'll just, we'll go ahead and take the people that are dying already in the past and it's for a limited population. But now I guess they've expanded, they have more population, they've got more ambition. So it made me think of it a bit as a commentary where instead of neural energy, you think of it as money. And some people can never have enough, right? And constantly are going to schemes and different things to get more and more and more, but it's never enough. And for these Davidians, like even probably like as many timelines as they can collapse isn't going to be enough. They're just incredibly greedy and short-sighted. So it just made me think of, when someone is really obsessed with it's never enough money or things, or it made me think of that.
See, that's really interesting because I didn't see it that way. Like I see it like I see it that the Davidians are trying to do something and trying to create the least impact possible, right? And
the least impact possible.
What?
I mean, they're killing people in timelines and collapsing entire realities.
They are creating the realities in order to take them.
But that's not any better.
Well, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, you get people that like, you get vegans, right? Like you, right? It's like, okay. So you
Where's
get
this
a farm.
going? Are you
Just
comparing
hold
me
on.
to a Davidian?
Yes, I am.
No,
No, I'm not comparing you. I'm comparing me to Davidian because I eat meat. And it's like, these animals are raised and bred to become food. And I mean, like, I'm like, that's the point of view that you can look at it with. I know that you have a completely different point of view, and that's fine. But it's like, they wouldn't have a life at all if they weren't created to be food. And so that's what these Davidians are doing. This timeline wouldn't exist if it wasn't created for them to have food out of it. And while it's like, it's just a twisted and warped way, it's like them going back in time in Time's Arrow. Hold on. It's like them going back in time to Time's Arrow and only taking the souls or whatever of the people who are about to be dying from this disease. They're going to be dead anyways. So if I take their soul just before they die, then I'm impacting it as little as possible.
I don't agree with that, because you could be adding additional suffering or harm before they die, and I think that's never a good thing to do.
I think that's how the Davidians are looking at it, though. I don't think they're looking at it to be greedy.
But I don't think that's entirely what they're doing, because I think they are creating some timelines to collapse them, but they're also looking at what they think are weaker timelines, corrupted timelines. So there are ones that they're not just creating, but that they're kind of going up the ladder of different ways of doing it. Mm-hmm. But even if all they're doing is creating a timeline and then collapsing it to take all the energy, they've created something that potentially, even for a short time, has trillions of sentient beings within it who are just as deserving as it. But I think what you're saying is this is how they're seeing it, like, oh, it's not a big deal.
Yes.
But for us, I think we'd be like, hey, guys, that's wrong.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Well,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the difference between eating domesticated beef and going out and killing an oryx.
What's an oryx?
Hunting it. I'm sorry. That's what cows came from.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Imagine a Texas Longhorn that's like another 3 feet taller and yeah. Sorry, versus hunting something.
Hunting something. There we go.
I mean, it's the difference between, okay, we're going to make these animals for food, and let's create an entire duplicate planet Earth just so we can take everything from it.
It's crazy. It's nuts. But I mean, I think that's what their method is. I think it's just an extrapolation of what we saw in Time Zero. And then now it's changed, because once you make that one exception, it's easier to make the next exception, So but yeah, I think that's where their actions started.
But it is kind of mind-blowing, like, idea. Like, they have all these hubs that are collapsing energy from alternate timelines. It's just insane, like, the technology and what's going on here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know where the kind of heart of it, or the nucleus that they're calling it, is. I have a theory about that. Because I think they say at some point that this kind of nucleus of it, I think Wesley's saying that it's most likely in another timeline, or might be outside time itself, which made me think of the prophets. Like,
I think we're going to see them.
That we'll see them, and they'll do battle with them or something. I don't know. There's a lot of crazy possibilities, but yeah, there was definitely like a lot more ambition to what the Davidians were doing than what I thought before I started reading the book, which would be like, oh yeah, they'll just hop between timelines, or somebody's trying to collapse this one timeline. It's much, much bigger than that, right? There's a lot of timelines in danger.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to Samuel Clemens coming into the next book.
Samuel Clemens,
that
would be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
and Guinan.
These Davidians aren't quite what I expected.
Yes. Okay,
that's a really bad accent, but
that was beautiful. What about that blue fellow over there? Okay. Yeah, so I don't know what else to say about the Davidians, because this is just, the difference between agriculture and hunting had not occurred to me. So I'm glad you brought that up, Brandon, because that is. But I do think there's that added element, because the one that they're talking to toward the end does say that they want to just take everything and they don't care if they destroy it all. So yeah.
And it was very interesting as well that they had, I guess they're calling them these avatars that kind of aren't alive, but they're embodying the consciousness of the Davidians to communicate with them. That was pretty interesting as well.
When I read that, all I could think of was Dementors in Harry Potter. No, but it's a perfect analogy, or a perfect connection, excuse me. But then by the end of it, I was like, I made a note. I'm like, maybe they're not Dementors, but they're like ring wraiths. So I guess I
don't get either reference. Sorry.
Okay, the Dementors suck your soul out of you in the Harry Potter universe. They are the guards for prisons.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so that's it. They're really dark. And then the ring wraiths are the 9 human men that had the rings that wanted to use them for their own power, and then so
in Lord of the Rings,
they're following Fodor around.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing while I'm thinking about it. I think Dayton Ward did a really great job of this sense of like repeated dread, right? Like you're going along, and then the first time that they come along, I think it's for the relativity. It's like, who are these like giant snake-like beings and they're weird humanoid people, and they're just like touching people and turning them to ash. And as it happened each time, I just kept getting the sense of dread, like, oh my God, here we go again. More people are going to die. Like, he did that really well. It felt like horror, definitely at a certain point. It's like you can't escape. Yeah.
It is. If you were to pick this up and take it out of the Star Trek context and just make this a story that stands alone, this would be a very good psychological horror.
Yeah.
All right, so here's the super spoiler alert. Double red alarm. We're going to talk about all the people that die in this.
Red alarm.
This is alarm. There we go. This is going to be like watching the end of Game of Thrones before you've seen the beginning if you haven't read the other books. So just be aware of that, and we'll go from there. So everyone dies. Not everyone.
Not everyone. A select group of people.
More than I expected.
A number of them unnamed.
Well,
or at least
course.
some of them. Yeah, some of them were
unnamed. A number of named characters who we've come to appreciate over the years.
No, but I mean, I think there were some where it was like, those 2 security officers are gone. Okay. I barely knew them.
Well, that always happens in Star Trek. That's the beginning plot point.
So I don't know how we want to talk about this. I have a list.
I'm not sure either. Yeah,
do the list.
Yeah, I guess let's start with the list. That's a good.
Right. So, and I think this is an order that it happened, and maybe I missed one or something. But before the Relativity crew, we're introduced to this Admiral Jakrivash, I think that's with the Temporal Commission and the USS Tempest. And they're trying to beam aboard, and oh no, they all die. I didn't get to know them much. I always want to see more of Andorians. Anyway, so the Relativity crew, and then all of the Captain Riker's Enterprise D in that alternate timeline. And I kind of love that it was like going along the lines of like Star Trek First Contact. And then all of a sudden it's like, who the hell are these people? Oh no, it's all going down the tube. One other thing, which I thought was a really cool reference, was I think Wes was talking about one of the first things he saw was when Voyager sees the wormhole with Telecromor and I Have the Needle, and basically really cool. Instead what comes through is these like horrifying creatures, and they collapse the whole timeline. So there are also some Enterprise crew members. There's Dina Elfiki, who I know you were like, oh, should I be upset? But I'm upset. I really liked Elfiki. She was kind of like a cool character on the bridge that was friends with Chen, and she's gone. Torek is gone, who is somebody we've actually seen on screen a couple of times, and I was kind of sad about that. Renan Kanya, a Betazoid, who's specific to these novels, and I was sad about that. But like I said, the one I was saddest about was Chen, because I love the character. She's someone who's half human, half Vulcan, but much more toward the human side, and but really brilliant as well. So I got sad about that, but she did get a chance to say goodbye to Picard. And of course, probably most shocking of all was Ezri dying in this thing. I was like, and I think Dayton Ward fooled me a little bit, because I was like, he's not describing it the same way as her turning to ash. She sees this white light. Maybe she went somewhere else. No, she's dead. But of course, go ahead.
I was going to say, it was the only time we got the death from the perspective of the dying.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the difference.
Because Ezri is special. But if my theory is right, and we're in a slightly different timeline than the novel verse we've been in, we might see Ezri again.
See, I think that we're in the novel verse that we've been in the whole time, but I don't think that Torek and Ezri are dead. Okay, I think that we're going to see them again, because...
See, I had a thought about that too, like they got shifted somewhere else or something.
Something happened to them. I don't think that they're dead, because I don't think you can
kill...
That
means all of them are like that, then.
No, like no. Chen's dead. Okay, so like we witnessed her death, right?
But for Torek, we don't. Yeah, we don't actually see him turning to ash, right?
That's
true. They reach towards Torek, and then we leave him, and then like half a chapter later, Chen is crying for Torek, and I'm like, what? What's going on here? And she's like, Torek died, and I'm like, what? I actually had to go back and reread.
I did too.
I'm like,
I was
what are
like,
you talking about? He died.
Oh, yeah, see there. I'm the pessimist, because I was like, oh, he's dead.
And so once I went through that, I had to read that part, like from when we left Torek to when that happened. I had to read that 3 times, and I'm like, I don't see where he died in this.
Yeah. You know what? I definitely had that thought, and I think that's a really strong theory that Torek and Ezri aren't gone, but they've been shifted somewhere else. Like I thought maybe it was at some point, like even for the people turning to ash, it was a bit of an illusion and they're being pushed off somewhere else where you'll see the group of them trying to figure out what to do. But maybe it's just Torek and Ezri.
Yeah.
But
so
damn,
that's
I
what
read
I
that
think.
next book.
That's what I think.
Like,
So that's my other theory that I had, is that I don't think those two are dead. So
do we have to wait 19 days till the next one? I guess we do. Anyway, that's
pretty quick.
That's all the deaths.
That's
Someone
pretty
sent
quick.
early. When I was expecting Ezri to die, not expecting, but when we read Ezri was dying, I was expecting that we would come back to that and the Dax symbiont would still somehow be struggling for life because they can live so much longer. Obviously, that doesn't work if she got turned into ashes, but in the way that Chen was super aged but didn't die right away. So,
but it was funny for the listeners because we're sitting there, we're talking, and I'm like, I've got 100 pages left, and Justin's like, I've got 5 pages left, and there was a moment that really affected me, and then I just said, oh, was it when Ezri died? Oh, wait, no, that's on the last page because you weren't there yet. I just said this ridiculous thing because I didn't think that was plausible, and then 20 pages later, I'm like, Ezri's dead, and I'm like, no, she's not. No, she's not dead. So, Ezri's not dead.
You sent that message, and I was like, wait, where does she die in the book? And I'm like, you said you had 100 pages left, but I'm reading the ebook, so I don't know if the pagination. Well,
you said you were done.
So.
You said you read it by then.
No, I was done. I was trying to figure out if you had gotten to that point or if you were just bullshitting.
I was just
and
BSing.
You were bullshitting, so yeah.
I was, and so and then when it happened, I'm like, what? No, Dayton, you son of a gun.
Well, maybe she's not dead.
Just like Dodge, she's not dead yet.
I mean, I think she might be dead. But yeah, well, but I think I realized it when Bowers, who was the first officer, was going to see Picard, and he's captain, and I'm like, oh,
because they dragged it out before they actually wrote down that Ezri was dead and have a eulogy for her. So
there's quite a bit of death in here.
Yeah. They did establish that the symbiont died too, because there's a comment about the loss of the Dax symbiont and all of its knowledge.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
That was my other theory. So
yeah,
it's a lot of death.
It is. It's heavy. I think it's probably, I'm not going to say the heaviest, but one of the heaviest Trek books I've ever read.
I think it is. And I was thinking about it in comparison to Destiny as well. It's hard not to compare it, but that is pretty heavy, and like, I don't know, 60 billion people die or something like that, but this has the potential for trillions to die. It is pretty heavy, but listeners, it's a really great experience, and you can, either take my advice and jump right in, or take Brandon and Chrissy's advice and contact us for the selection of books you should read instead of the 100 before you read this.
Yeah.
I hope Mariner dies in this timeline.
Oh, jeez.
They could have the Cerritos show up now, right? Like,
it could.
Absolutely, they could.
Wouldn't it be funny if that was like half of the next book is the Cerritos in 2387? with Captain Beckett Mariner. Maybe not.
No, but
First Officer Brad Boimler, Chief Engineer Samantha Rutherford. Anyway.
Yeah. Then people would not be able to say it's adjacent to canon and not canon anymore. Well, I guess they still could. Anyway. Yeah, so anything else we want to say about this?
I want the next book.
The next book. I have canon connections as well. I
yes,
can make it a selection because there's a lot of them.
Yeah, well, the whole thing is. So, canon connections.
There is kind of a lot, and I mentioned a few of them, but I do like we get the transphasic torpedoes, which were developed in Destiny. Starbase 11 was originally in TOS's Court Martial and Menagerie, which is cool. We talk about the rite of Maj-Ka at the caves of Nomat, which is from Birthright. Let's see, what else? I love that at one point they're talking about the Department of Temporal Investigations Hall of Infamy, including Archer and Kirk and Janeway, which is great. Another character that I really like from the DTI books that didn't die in this, by the way, did I miss it? I think Rengia died. I didn't note that, but he died, right?
Yes.
The DTI agent. So that was another death. But someone who didn't die, who's a character that I'm really fascinated by, is Laren Andos, who is a Rondarite. And they live a really long time. She's like, 300 years old or something. Mm-hmm. But she's seen a lot, was there like before the beginning of the Federation. I want to have more with this character. So
the president in that two-parter on Earth in DS9 was Aranda Wright.
Oh.
Minzif? Or not
is
Minzif,
that right?
Jarashenyo.
Jarashenyo. I think you're right about that, yeah. But anyway, so those are all the connections. There's lots of great stuff. And
Paradise Lost and Homefront.
Homefront.
Yeah, I didn't make any canon connections because they're there. They're everywhere. Just read it. You'll see them.
Every page.
Yep. Okay. Well, other than we want the other 2 books now, do we have any final thoughts?
I can't believe how quick a read this was.
It was.
I went through it pretty quick. On the days that I was able to read, I went through it pretty quick. So it was a very quick read, and I really enjoyed it. So it was very good. I'm very excited for the last 2 of these, and not that I think they're listening, but thank you guys so much for these books. So, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for what you've done
Thanks
here.
and love goes out for that. I think, Justin, you can cut this out if you don't want to, if we don't end up wanting to do this, but I think after we get through the 3rd book, for our conversation for the 3rd book, we need to have a list of all of our predictions and theories and see where we fell. I think that would be fun to do.
Yeah, then we could be like, simulation score 0%.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be pretty close to 0.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see how things fall out. So it was just as we were sitting here giving all these options, I was like, I should be writing this down so that we can reconcile later.
It is revealed in book 2 that it is not the Davidians. It's really the Packleds.
Gods. Okay. Last off-the-wall theory just popped into my head right now. Do you think we're going to see Benny Russell?
No.
Ooh, that's interesting. I don't know.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think so either, but it just popped in.
Yeah, they I mean, in the post-series books, they kind of played with that a little bit and wrapped it up a bit. I think they had a bit more Benny Russell stuff before Sisko came back from Celestial Temple.
Yes. Oh, it was Kira. Or wasn't she? She was in it too, because she woke up in the Benny Russell.
That's right. And there were a couple
writer.
books where she was trying to get her way out of that or something.
Yeah, because she was all over. That was a very confusing.
So many books.
Those were confusing.
It was a bit, but I liked it.
Good. Yeah, but I had to read it twice before I didn't know what's going on.
But there's been so many books that I think we, like, listeners, you heard, like, we were like, oh, yeah, it was Picard's fault the Q's son died. Nope, it was Janeway. We remember that wrong. There's so much material.
So maybe you can just jump into this, because we've probably forgotten more than we remember about these past 100 novels.
Yeah.
So,
that's the point.
Yeah, but I'll be very interested. Listeners, let us know if you have read all or most, if you've just read some, if you've read none, and you've read this Coda book one, what you thought of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just because I think that you should read more doesn't mean you have to. Do whatever the hell you want. Who the hell am I?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think for people who have that wonderful kind of eidetic memory that you look at something once and you never have to think, try to remember it again because it's all there, like your friggin' data or something. It's a different thing. But there have been many times as I've been rereading these that I really wished I could just pop in a 45-minute episode and, okay, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then...
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have an eidetic memory for our eidetic podcast.
No, we don't. All right. Well, this is another special episode of Infinite Diversity. That's a in-between drop. Do not get used to this, people, because no, we don't. No, we're not going to be doing this every week. I know this week and last week, but we're not going to be doing this every week.
Just when there are new books, yeah.
Yeah, just when there are new books. So, listeners, we want to hear about what you think about this book. If you have read the other ones, as we said, if you haven't read the other ones, if you're just listening to this and have never read any of the novels, you think we're crazy, but that's okay. Tell us anyway. You already know where to find us from our usual episodes, so we're not going to go through all of that. The next time you hear from us, we are going to be talking about the season finale of Lower Decks, of season 2 of Lower Decks. We don't have a title for it yet, so we don't know. It'll be something. It'll be fantastic. Thanks for listening.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.
Recording.
That's good for me.
Red alarm. Red alarm.
Pack lids.
You got to put that at the end of the last
I love
one.
the pack lids in this one.
It's going at the end of this one.
Right. So Renee and Wesley have this kind of connection. It's very interesting. Just a minute. Buster.
Down, Spot. Down.
Okay. This is up. Up is no. This is down. Down is yes. Okay. Sorry. Usually he'll flop down behind the computer and just stay there. And not so much this time. Sorry if that made any loud noises in your ears. There were a couple parts I had to read over. And like I said, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Are we boring
Yeah, there
you?
were a couple of parts I...
Just kidding.
No, it's all right.